Ayan, magandang araw, mathematicians. So for today's video, allow me to share or show a few examples lang how to solve quadratic equations using completing the square, and then more examples tayo niyan sa pag-solve using quadratic formula. So these are actually what I gave my students during their PETA number 2 written recitation. Let's start with this equation. 2x squared minus 6x minus 3 equals 0. So if we are to solve this using completing the square method, ang gagawin natin ay to isolate the terms containing the variable x. So we will have 2x squared minus 6x equals 63. Bakit 63 yan? Kasi if negative 63 is transposed to the right side, it becomes positive. So, magiging 0 plus 63. Therefore, kahit 63 na lang ang isulat dito sa right side. Next is to divide both sides of the equation by 2. Kasi yun ang coefficient ng quadratic term natin or sa quadratic term. Remember, sa completing the square, we want that the value of a, the coefficient in the quadratic term, is just 1. Okay, so what happens now is, yung left side natin magiging x squared kasi 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times x squared is just x squared. And then, negative 3x or minus 3x. Sulat kasi negative 6x divided by 2 is negative 3x. Equals, since 63 over 2 or divided by 2 is not an integer, then we write it as is. So, expressing it as a fraction lang. And then, this is now the step where we have to show what we will have to add to both the left and the right sides of the equation to complete the square. Okay. So, anong gagawin natin? We take the coefficient of x, in this particular example, negative 3. And then, what we do is, we always divide whatever the coefficient in the linear term is by 2, and then square the result. Since negative 3 divided by 2 is not going to give an integer result, therefore, let's just let's just stick with that form, negative 3 over 2 pa din siya. And then square na lang natin agad. So we have to distribute this exponent to each member of this fraction, to the numerator and to the denominator. So negative 3 raised to 2 is positive 9 over 2 raised to 2 is 4. This only means that when negative 3 over 2 is multiplied by itself, that is what exponent 2 means, we will have the result 9 over 4. At ibig sabihin lang yan, yung 9 over 4 na yan, ang i-add natin to the left and to the right hand side of the equation to make it, to complete the square. So, let's just make use of the same equation. Tapos itagdagan natin yung 9 over 4. So, magiging may plus 9 over 4 dito, and then plus 9 over 4 din dito. Ayan, ibig lang sabihin yan, itong ating quadratic trinomial sa left side is now a perfect square trinomial. And therefore, it can be expressed as a square of a binomial. So, let's prepare a pair of parentheses with exponent 2 here. And then, what do we put inside a binomial? Saan manggagaling? Sa square root ng x squared at itong 9 over 4. What will be the operation? We just copy the sign here, which is that of the linear terms coefficient. So, minus sign yan or negative sign. Square root ng x squared ay x. Square root ng 9 over 4 is 3 over 2. And you would notice na kung ano yung actually ini-square mo kanina, yun din ang lilitaw dun sa constant term natin sa binomial. Okay, in the part that we have to express the PST as a square of a binomial. And then equals, or what is the result when we add 63 over 2 and 9 over 4? Yan. Pwede tayong mag-butterfly technique, or we can rename lang muna siguro yung 63 over 2 using the denominator 4, since LCM of 2 and 4 is just 4, kasi 2 is a factor of 4. Therefore, the least number na both divisible by 4 and 2 is just 4. So, LCD now will be 4. So, let me just show it here. 63 over 2 will be renamed as a fraction whose denominator is 4. So what will be the process how to get the new numerator? So 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 63. So again, we show that 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then the result is multiplied by 63. So 2 times 63 is just 126. So what is 126 over 4 plus 9 over 4? Since they have the same denominator now, we will just copy that common denominator 4. Ayan. And then add the numerators lang. 9 plus 126 is 135. And then, we now have the form x squared equals k. Again, this is of the form x squared equals k, where x here is, where x here represents a binomial. Okay, so pwede natin applyan din yan ng, call that extracting square roots. Okay, where we have to apply naman square root property. So, what do we write? So, we have x minus 3 over 2 equals positive or negative square root of 135 or 135 over 4. Okay, so we have to simplify this radical here. Yung square root ng 4, madali yung isipin, di ba? That's just 2. So, ibig sabihin, this will be equal to positive or negative something over 2. Ano naman ang square root ng 135? Meron ba siyang perfect square factor bukod sa 1? Yes, meron. That is 9. Okay, kasi 135 is equal to 9 times 15. And therefore, ang square root ng 135 can be expressed as the square root of the product of 9 and 15. At ang square root nga ng 9 is 3. Therefore, the simplest form of square root of 135 is 3 square root of 15. Okay, so we put it here. Square root of 3 square root of 15. And this will be the value of x minus 3 over 2. And what will be the last step? Siyempre, i-transpose lang natin yung negative 3 halves dun sa right side. Therefore, we will have x equals positive 3 over 2 na siya. So, we chose to write na the transpose term before the plus or minus sign. Plus or minus 3 square root of 15 over 2. At since parehas nga sila ng denominator, yung parehas lang may 2, we can make use of a single fraction bar. Therefore, we can write, dito lang tayo sa taas magsulat, hindi na kasya. So, we can write that x is 3 plus or minus 3 square root of 15 all over 2. And we can see it naman now. We cannot simplify this further kasi 3, 3, and 2 are not divisible by any other number aside from 1. So, this is already the simplest form of this algebraic fraction. Okay? So, ayan, medyo mahaba talaga siyang dinidiscuss, yung completing the square as a method to solve quadratic equations. Let's have another example. Yeah, 3x squared minus 9x equals 6. In this particular example, we don't need to isolate na the terms containing the variable x since they are already isolated. Nasa kaliwa niya may mga x, tapos nasa kanan naman yung constant. So, what we can do is to divide na agad both sides by what? By the value of the coefficient of a, which is in this case 3. So, divide by 3, and then also the right side, divide by 3. So, the resulting equation will be x squared minus 3x equals 2. Ayan, kagaya kanina, ang lumitaw na constant term natin ay, linear term natin upon dividing by the value of a is negative 3x. Okay, the linear term. So, ibig sabihin, for the next step, we have to show that yung coefficient nga sa linear term na negative 3 ay i-divide by 2, tapos i-square yung result. So, ibig sabihin, this will just be 9 over 4 din. So, yung 9 over 4 na yan ang i-add natin to the left and to the right-hand sides of the equation. Okay, para makomplete nga yung square dun sa left side. So, this becomes now a perfect square trinomial, which means pwede siyang i-express as a square of a binomial. So, anong magagalingan ng binomial natin? Siyempre, dito lang tayo sa PST magpo-focus. Ano yung ating first term? Siyempre, x, kasi square root ng x squared ay x. And the shortcut to determining what the constant term here is, siyempre, yung ni-raise mo kanina sa 2. So, ibig sabihin, negative 3 halves or minus 3 halves yan. Pero if you forgot that technique, balikan mo lang yung ating PST. So, what will be the sign here? Bakit minus sign? Kasi the linear terms coefficient is negative. Bakit 3 over 2? Kasi square root ng 9 over 4 is 3 over 2. Equals, 2 plus 9 fourths. Yan, box ko to ha. So, anong sagot sa 2 plus 9 fourths? Take note, this is just a whole number plus a fraction. So, pwede siyang i-express as a mixed number. So, 2 and 9 fourths na lang. And then, let's just express it as an improper fraction. So, we copy lang the denominator 4. And then, what do we do to get the numerator? 4 times 2 is 8 plus 9, 17. So, ibig sabihin, yung 2 and 9 fourths, which is the result in 2 plus 9 fourths, can be rewritten as 17 over 4. Ayan. And kapag ganito na ang x squared equals k, ang ating form ng equation, where x represents a binomial in this case, we can apply square root property na. Okay, which is what we apply kapag nga extracting square roots ang ginagamit nating method. So we have x minus 3 over 2 equals positive or negative square root of 17 over 4. Anong square root ng 17? So since 17 is a prime number, ang kanyang perfect square factor lang ay 1. Ibig sabihin, when we simplify square root of 17, yun lang din siya, square root of 17. Pero yung square root ng 4 ay 2. So ibig sabihin, ang square root ng 17, ang square root ng fraction of 17 over 4 can be rewritten as square root of 17 over 2. Don't forget the plus or minus sign, and then x minus 3 halves sa kaliwa. So last step is to transpose this, and we can opt to write the transposed term dun sa bago plus or minus signs. Magiging x equals 3 halves plus or minus square root of 17 over 2. At yun nga, since parehas lang ang denominator ng mga yan, we can use a single fraction bar. So we have 3 plus or minus square root of 17 all over 2. Ayan. So, ayan. So, mukhang mabibilin tayo sa oras kasi nga ang ating screencast-o-matic na ginagamit para mag-record ay hanggang 15 minutes lang. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.